Welcome to part 3 of My Dog is Limping. We've discussed now the gait analysis, feeling for heat, as well as positional changes of your dog and trying to figure out where it's coming from. Today is the juicy stuff. Oh, hello. We're going to talk about going through each joint. It's very similar to my video on doing passive range of motion. However, it's not passive range of motion, it's more assessing each and every joint, including the feet. The feet are one of the most common places of soreness and limping, and it's so overlooked by so many, including myself. So, let's get started with Ben. So we're going to get Ben to lie down. So let's start looking at the joints. Now, just so you know, the feet are probably one of the hardest things to assess for everybody, myself included. And the reason for that is many, if not almost every dog I've ever met, including my own, don't like their nails being trimmed. I use a Dremmel, and yeah, I mean, he's okay with it, but he looks away as if I'm trying to chop a foot off. So it isn't easy sometimes, and sometimes you just won't be able to. But what you're going to do is get your dog to lie on its side. Oh, Ben. My other dog had burrs, and he's covered in mud. Not a very good mummy, am I? So what you're going to do is run your hands down the toes. So these toes are just like our fingers, and how we bend our fingers, they do the same thing with their toes. And remember, their pads of their feet are actually skin. So something to think about is if your dog is limping after walking on hot pavement, it's very possible that he's burned his feet. So we're going to go down. No, I know you don't like it, but we're going to do it anyway. And we're going to go down and feel each one of these little tiny, there's the little bonies, like this is the bone here that I'm assessing. And we're just going to palpate it and squeeze it a little, not too hard, wiggle it side to side. I know, it's terrible what I'm doing. And he's pulling away not because of pain, he's pulling away because, well, he doesn't like it. So don't be thinking that this is pain. Real pain, the way it presents is you'll see they'll either close their eyes really tight, or they will open them really wide so you see the whites of their eyes. So that's more of what you're looking for. Or they'll reach around to tell you not to do it, or they'll just move away from you. So this is not pain, this is just, I don't want you touching my feet. It's okay, buddy. Yeah, you're being a very good boy. Very, very good boy. We'll go down, and I'm going to do this kind of fast because he's just had enough of this. And I'm going to feel all the way up. These are his metacarpal joints, bones, and there's, let's see if we feel anything. Then when we get to the wrist, we're just going to bend the wrist. You're fine. And see, and you want to compare both sides, see what's normal. So I always start with the side I think is not lame or not sore. I always start with that side first to see what is normal. And so I'm just going to put my hand here, and I like to have my hand underneath to bend it. And the reason for that is when I bend it, if there's any arthritis in there, sometimes you can feel a little bit of crunchy, or I kind of call it, it's like Rice Krispies in there. But, or if you find that you can't bend it, like this one you can bend this far and the other one you can only bend this far, then you know something is probably arthritic. And I do see a lot of dogs with arthritis, especially dogs that play ball. So we're bending, and then you can take it and you can just kind of go side to side a little bit, not far, but just, and having your hands on your dog like this, it's really good to do anytime and get them used to having this done. Going side to side, no pain there. And then I'm going to put my hand under the elbow, and I'm going to bring the elbow up. And I don't want any bouncing, no bouncing. So just bring it up. Do I feel like it doesn't want to go anywhere? And then I bring it down to extension. I don't feel any kind of anything in the elbow. I don't feel any heat. I don't feel any thickening or like a big bump in there. That's something you'll feel. Then when we come to the shoulder is all the way up here. And what you're going to do is have your hand underneath the elbow and bring the elbow forward. And he's closing his eyes a little bit. So is that painful? I think he's just been out for a big run. So hence the reason he's muddy. But when I bring it here, I don't know if you can see that, but he's closing his eyes. But he's not moving. So in fact, I think this is actually stretching it, and it probably feels good. Oh, good boy. Now, am I going to go farther than that? No. So that's extension. Then we're going to bring it back this way. That's flexion. It all feels good. We're going to deal with the back in a separate session because it's a whole other can of worms. It's a lot harder unless you have experienced hands as to assessing the back, but there are common signs that you will see and some things that you can do. So we will leave that for a session on its own. That will be part 4. Then we come down and do the same thing with the back leg. Oh, and you've got a few burrs on you as well. And I'm going to check these toes. And I don't know about you guys, but for whatever reason, most dogs don't like their front feet being handled, and they're not as bad with the back. And I can't tell you why. Maybe because they don't see it, I don't know. So I'm just squeezing each one and moving them a little side to side, and I don't feel anything in there, no thickening of the, and as I mentioned before, it's always good if you can check both at the same time, you know, like going like this on the same one on both sides and just feeling, does one feel thicker or different than the other foot? Because if you're doing both at the same time, you have a better feel for what's going on. And then I move up to his metatarsals. Let's see. All feels good. Then we come up to his tarsus. In us, this would be the heel. And this does not bend unless you bend the knee. So I'm going to bend. And this is the joint in my other dog, Jake, that has arthritis in it. And how I found it was doing exactly this. And when I put my hand here, I could feel it was like a big ball of yuckiness. And it was warm to the touch. So I'm going to just bend it. I have seen a few issues in this area. This is the Achilles tendon, so I have seen a rupture of this tendon, which is not fun to deal with. Then I'm going to come up to the knee. I've talked ad nauseum about the knee, but assessing the knee, just bringing it extension and flexion. Do I feel any arthritis in there? Do I feel, and you can go to my video on, does my dog have a CCL tear, because that explains this in much better detail. Then when we get to the hip, so the hip joint is this little nubbly thing that you'll feel, and if you want to know where it is, you just move the leg like this and you'll feel it move, and it sits in this little socket. One of the things I want to mention about the hip joint, it is one of the most unforgiving joints in the body, and if you go to extend it too far, typically it's more extension than it is flexion, i.e. going this way, and your dog doesn't like it, they will probably not let you try it again. And I've just found that over the years. So one of the ways that you're going to assess it is just moving it very gently, and you've got your hand over that ball that you can feel there. If you have a really muscular dog, it may be a little harder to feel, or a dog with a little extra padding. But you're just going to move it a little bit this way, and we're not doing full extension like we did with passive range of motion. We're just bringing it forward and back, and we're just feeling. Even go around if your dog will let you. Will you let me? Yes, you will let me. And you move it around, and what you're feeling for is just feeling if you feel any little crunch or click or that Rice Krispie thing like in any other joint. And that might tell you that there's something going on in that hip joint. Hopefully this has helped you out a little bit more, fine-tuning where the problem is in your dog, and that will help you help your vet be able to be quicker to figuring out what's going on. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video, which is all about the spine, and hopefully you subscribe and like, and please leave me a comment. Have a great day. Bye.